Michael Rennie was ill the day the earth stood still, but he told us where we stand. And Flash Gordon was there in silver underwear. Claude Rains was the invisible man. Then something went wrong for Fay Ray and King Kong. They got caught in a celluloid jam. Then at a deadly pace it came from outer space. And this is how the message ran.
Hi there, Dax here, and welcome to another episode of Pre-Regan Science Fiction. I want to clear something up for everyone. Not only do I look at classic works of science fiction, but I also look at modern interpretations of such classic works. So not only will I look at any science fiction made before November 5th, 1980, but also any prequels, sequels, remakes, or adaptations of works in that first category. So, Star Wars Episode 1 of Phantom Menace, which came out in 1999, is just as much fair game as the original Star Wars, which came out in 1977. To demonstrate this to you all, I'm going to do a special two-parter entitled Will Smith's Sci-Fi Film Adaptations Suck, where I look at two movies starring Will Smith that are adaptations of classic science fiction books and discuss how they failed. I want to make this clear, this is nothing against Will Smith, as a person or as an actor. He has been in some great movies, but, like everyone else, he's also been in some bad ones. So before you think I'm bashing on Will Smith, I'm not. So let's not get in a fight about this, or your mom may get scared and say,
"You're moving with your auntie and uncle in Bel Air."
Now where both of these movies truly fail is in the ending, so there's going to be a lot of spoilers here. So I'm just going to tell you what the movie is and throw up the Snape alert now. This episode is on I Am Legend. Now, before you judge, wait till you hear what I have to say. I Am Legend is a remake of a remake where all three movies are really just adaptations of the original novel by Richard Matheson. The first film was The Last Man on Earth, made in 1964 and starring Vincent Price. The script for this one was actually written, or at least co-written, by Richard Matheson himself. However, he wasn't pleased with the final project, so instead he's credited as Logan Swanson. The plot of this story is that a terrible and strange plague has ravaged the world, killing almost everyone. One man, Robert Morgan, is immune and survived. The problem is, the dead don't stay that way long, and rise at night to attack Morgan.
Morgan! Come out!
In the book, the infected are described very much as classical vampires, harmed by sunlight, super strong and super fast, etc. In this movie, they keep a lot of the vampiric traits, while also changing it somewhat to make them more like zombies. For instance, they sleep during the day, they can only be killed by stakes through the heart, they are repelled by garlic, they are repelled by their own reflections. Okay, fine.
To see how ugly we really are. Gah!
Oh, man.
But they also act like mindless drones, which Vincent Price is able to push through easily. This movie does an amazing job building atmosphere. This is thanks greatly to its star, Vincent Price. Not only is he an amazing actor, but he looks like a normal guy just trying to make it through this chaotic world. In the other two movies, the star is an action hero, so in the back of your mind you can always just picture them blasting their way through the zombies no problem. We are thrown into this world in media res 3 years after the world died, as Robert Morgan spends his days hunting out and killing the vampires while still searching for a cure, and spends his nights holed up in his house listening to music and watching home movies while the vampires attack. There's little in the way of dialogue for a majority of the film because there's no one to talk to, so we're told a lot of the story through voiceover.
And now, 12 long hours before the sun will rise and drive them back to darkness.
It isn't until a large flashback section in the middle of the film where we get to see Robert when the virus first came over from Europe, and we meet his research partner and best friend, who is also the only person who believes that the virus is actually turning people into vampires, is actually the leader of the vampires who's attacking his house every night.
Morgan! We're going to kill you, Morgan! Morgan!
We also meet Morgan's beautiful wife and sweet young daughter. I bet you can guess what happens to them.
Stop making plans. Forget about going home. Consider yourselves already dead.
I wouldn't have put it so bluntly, Greg, but yeah, they're dead meat. They both contract the virus, and Morgan is stuck futilely fighting it while he watches them slip away right in front of him. About an hour into the movie, Morgan sees the first living thing he's seen in years with a dog.
Alive. It's alive.
But the dog doesn't last very long, as we soon see him burying it. However, he then meets a woman out in the daylight. He takes the woman, Ruth, back to his home, and with a ring of garlic, he finds out that she's infected. Actually, it turns out that there's a group of infected who have this serum that keeps them calm and rational people instead of just mindless zombies. And among those are many that Morgan killed during his daily outings. These people think of Morgan as kind of their boogeyman because he can come out during the day while they sleep and kills them for seemingly no reason. It is because of this that the title is I Am Legend, as he, going out during the day, has become a legendary beast to these vampires, much as they once were to us humans. Now, to put the depressing icing on this depressing cake, Morgan manages to perfect a cure, curing Ruth mere moments before the loved ones of those he killed came in and executed him. Fittingly, they do so in a church. Oh, I'd be remiss if I didn't at least mention this. Morgan believes that he is immune to the vampire virus because he was once bit by a bat that had a weakened strand of the virus, so he developed an immunity to it.
In the movies, being bitten by an animal gives you the superpowers of that animal, plus other powers. But in real life, the only power you get is the power to die. Learn the facts. Rabies kills nearly 4,000 Americans every 1,000 years. Rabies. Ugh.
That movie was really good, but really depressing. Thankfully, we get to follow it up with the 1971 movie starring Charlton Heston, Omega Man. Unfortunately, Heston was unavailable for the sequel, Beneath the Omega Man, so instead the leading role was given to James Franciscus. In this version of I Am Legend, it takes the same basic story from the book, but turns it into an action movie. So instead of great atmosphere, we get Charlton Heston driving around in a convertible, shooting off a machine gun, and saying snarky one-liners to himself.
There's never a cop around when you need one.
For comparison, let's look at these two scenes that are basically the same thing, where the hero's car got destroyed, and he has to go and pick up a new one. For Vincent Price, it goes like this.
This convertible would be nice. Probably handles well. But I can't think of comfort. There was a time when I shopped for a car. Now I'm looking for a hearse. This station wagon will have to do.
However, with Heston, the same scene looks like this.
Huh? All right, how much you give me in trade for my Ford? Really? Thanks a lot, you cheating bastard.
Also, while the infected being thinking beings in the first movie was a twist ending, in this movie, Heston has always known this and has even had conversations with their leader, Matthias. We are shown, again in flashback, that this time the virus was a biological weapon created during the Cold War and released when China and Russia went to war with each other. And this time the virus doesn't make them zombies or vampires. It basically makes them insane albinos with an extreme aversion to light. You can tell by their jaunty robes and sunglasses. Okay, I have to say it. This movie really makes me think of Beneath the Planet of the Apes. The main antagonists are an underground cult who are mutant humans who believe themselves morally superior to humanity, have a dramatic reveal of their true deformity. Hell, even the black guy dies from being impaled on iron spikes.
This is Joe. In very poor taste.
This actually makes me hate Beneath the Planet of the Apes even more. You know why? This movie is actually good! Matthias is a great villain in every way. He's strange enough that you fear him instantly, but charismatic enough that you understand why people follow him. They believe that human technology that caused the virus cursed the world, and thus it is their job to destroy all the trappings of man in the world. And that makes sense considering the virus was an engineered weapon that only had such a devastating spread because the other side shot it out in open atmosphere.
Friends, I've come to free you from your complicated lives! Free you from the complicated part, I mean, not the lives part.
Also, in this movie, the black guy is named Brother Zachary, not Negro, which puts it way ahead in my books. Unlike in other versions of the story, Robert Neville, Heston's character, was an army researcher who had no family. He actually managed to create a cure at the beginning, but most of it got destroyed and he only had enough to cure himself. Although this last man doesn't get a dog like the other ones do, he does get to meet a woman too, actually fairly early in this one. And, unlike the others, Heston gets himself some end-of-the-world lovin'.
Well, you know the old song? If you were the only girl in the world and I were the only boy, okay. But till then, don't bother me. I guess I'm the only boy.
Lisa, the girl here, shows up extremely early, appearing first at only the half-hour mark. We find that she and a former med student turned biker named Dutch run a sort of orphanage for kids who are only in the early stages of the disease. Lisa's brother Richie, however, is much farther along. Neville is actually able to cure Richie, but he's foolish enough to go and tell Matthias that Neville has a cure. Matthias obviously doesn't want a cure, but he uses this as an opportunity to make a final push against Neville. With the help of the now-turned Lisa, he is able to get into Neville's penthouse and destroys everything. He manages to get out with a single vial of his serum, and actually manages to give it to Dutch before he dies, suggesting that the cure keeps on going.
Zombrex is not a cure and must be administered regularly. While there are no acknowledged side effects, some patients have reported symptoms including nausea, hair loss, bleeding eyes, bleeding anus, occasional terrifying hallucinations, and slightly dry skin.
Enough with the appetizers. On to the main course. A third version of the movie was made in 2007, this time actually called I Am Legend, starring Will Smith.